Buenos dias, buenas tardes, y buenas noches, bonjour, bonsoir, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, wherever you may be. Three Brighton Ladies case, part two. And part one, just finished that, and it was basically asking you to watch the story of Destiny, who at the age of 5 was trafficked from Nigeria to Ireland and led a life that, well, anyway, that was part one. It was really asking you to consider whether what happened to Destiny could have happened to Jane, Tina, and Becky in the three Brighton Ladies case. Part two here I go. I'm gonna read through an article from local paper the Argus, Sussex paper the Argus, which was written just 2 days after the three Brighton ladies were discovered, and it's a bit of an eye opener in retrospect, in the fullness of time, now that we've gone, nearly 2 months or so into this case, to see what has happened and what hasn't happened. So I will, of course, post the link in the description of the video so you can hopefully read this at your leisure. But let's just read through it together now and let's get an idea of what is going on from the perspective of the authorities, police, media, etc., as we try to figure out how it can be that there are no updates on this case when there are so many aspects that are crying out to be explained. It is just so absurd that anyone, let alone nearly everyone, is treating this case as some kind of normal missing person, oh, they've washed up dead case, when it just doesn't make any sense whichever way you look at it. So, the title is Why the Women Who Died on Brighton Beach Haven't Been Named. Like I say, this is from 15th of May, just 2 days after the ladies were discovered, and it goes into a little bit of detail. The reporter is Charles Pring, and it says the three young women whose bodies were recovered from the sea have still not been publicly identified. Okay, again, this is 2 days after they were found. The women, believed to be aged between 20 and 30, were found unresponsive in the water off the seafront near Brighton's Madeira Drive on May 13th. Now, that in itself is curious if I break off from the article. Yeah, this reporter is saying believed to be aged between 20 and 30. All three were aged between 30 and 40. So, 10 years out there, but it makes you wonder how early doors did the press get these things wrong? Believed to be. Believed by whom? Who suggested between 20 and 30? I don't know, reporter. Who said that? Where did you get that from? Sussex police have confirmed that there is no evidence of third party involvement or criminal activity. This is day two when no one's been identified, no cause of death has been identified. We know nothing effectively about these three people. But one thing has been confirmed on day two, even though no one knows anything about this. Sussex police have confirmed that there is no evidence of third-party involvement or criminal activity. I mean, how about Sussex police have confirmed that there could well be evidence to come of third-party involvement or criminal activity? Or Sussex police have confirmed that in all likelihood there is some kind of third-party involvement or criminal activity? Why is it automatically these days the police seem to confirm, before looking into any aspect of the case, that there's no evidence of third-party involvement? I'm just curious why they say that rather than saying at this early stage third party involvement is distinctly possible. Why? Why even mention it? I would suggest it's to stop speculation. And they want to stop speculation because they know if they can't provide any answers, people naturally will start to think, how do we explain this? Let me go back to the article. It says formal identification has not yet taken place and the women have not been publicly named. Fair enough. A woman has come forward on social media to say it was her cousins who died, but this has yet to be confirmed. I wonder who that was. A cousin. It was her cousins who died. Now, we had one cousin, Natalie, that basically led the funeral service. Was it her? To my mind, in the funeral service, Natalie seemed just a little bit overacting, playing the part of these dear cousins were like my best friends, when I don't think Natalie's ever met them. She didn't say anything in the funeral that indicated she'd ever met the girls. Nothing at all. Nothing. No anecdotes about what these girls were like in her life, just generalizations about what types of personality they were that could have been applied to anyone. So I wonder if this Natalie is involved in some kind of scam here. Was she the first one that said, "Oh yes, yes, I can confirm who they are"? Really? You can? How? You came forward on social media. Well, maybe it wasn't Natalie. Maybe it was Adivka. Is that her name? Maybe it was the other cousin that spoke at the funeral. I don't know. It says this is because under UK law, it is the statutory responsibility of HM coroner, not the police, to confirm the identities of the deceased. When do you think that HM coroner Schofield, in charge of the Brighton Ladies case, a coroner, by the way, that was convicted of perverting the course of justice, just to complete the background here, fox guarding the hen house, yeah, convicted coroner here in charge of telling us who these people are. It's never good. When will she confirm the identities of the deceased? We're nearly 2 months into this, yeah? May 13th, the body's found. It's now July 5th. We're heading up to 2 months and no confirmation from the coroner of who these people are. Yes, we've got names, but that doesn't really identify who they are. To me, who they are is a little bit of background information to confirm we know exactly where they grew up, what they did, some background information that puts us at ease regarding who these people really are. I go back to the article. This legal process is especially critical in cases involving bodies recovered from the sea, as water immersion can affect the condition of the body and complicate identification. That answers a lot. So, water immersion can affect the condition of the body and complicate identification. I take that to mean that the body can come out of the water so distorted that not even those that know the three girls could be sure about identifying them. You see, we might have been in this position where PC Plod said, "We found these three bodies. Joseph, can you identify them as your daughters?" And Joseph could have said, if he couldn't identify them, and he wanted to pretend that he could identify them, he could well have said, "Yeah, that one's Becky, that one's Jane, and that one is Tina." And just saying, if the water immersion had affected the condition of the three bodies to the point where identification was extremely complicated, it seems to me like the police might not have been able to say yay or nay. They might have just gone with, okay, well, the father seems confident, so let's go with this one, as he said, is Jane, this one is Tina, and this one's Becky. Is that what happened here, PC Plod? You just assumed the father's identification was accurate. Or have you done some DNA testing? If you have done some DNA testing, we're 2 months into this, Plod. What was the result? Coroner, what was the result? Are we going to have to wait till October till you tell us DNA testing proved or disproved the identification of the bodies? Why the silence here? Go back to the article. CCTV footage from the seafront is being reviewed as part of the investigation, and police are working to piece together the events leading up to the incident. Again, they had nearly 2 months to put this jigsaw puzzle together. How far have we got with identifying what happened here? No one knows. No one knows a thing. Seems like PC Plot doesn't care to let us know either. A post-mortem examination has been commissioned by the coroner to determine the cause of death. Sounds logical to me. In cases involving drowning, pathologists must establish whether death occurred from submersion or if another factor contributed to the fatality before the women entered the water. In other words, they either drowned or something else caused or contributed to their death before they entered the water. Yet again, I'll say it, we're nearly 3 months into this. How can it be that the pathologists, to this day, still don't know if it's a straightforward drowning or if there's something else behind it? I mean, usually when someone is fished out of the water, sad to say, little kid goes swimming, gets out of his depth, dies in the water. They don't usually after 2 months say, "Oh, we don't know what happened to the kid." It's usually, well, the kid drowned. So if this complicating factor that could be there, something that contributed to their death before they drowned, if that hasn't been cleared up yet, what could it be? Are we thinking here there's 101 substances that were in the bloodstream of these three girls, and they just don't want to tell us what those substances were? Is it the case possibly that on examination there's a massive great blow to the head? All three of them were whacked over the head while they were on a boat and thrown overboard, but no one has the guts to tell us that? What is going on here? I'll go back to the article. Toxicology tests are also standard in such cases and can take between 6 and 12 weeks to complete. Wow. 6 to 12 weeks to complete. Toxicology tests. Well, that implies to me that what are we into now? Week 8 or so? Let's say we're into week 8, roughly week 8. Well, that's between 6 and 12. Give it another 4 weeks, and that'll be the extremity of the length of time it takes to do these tests. Can we expect in 1 month's time definitive toxicology tests that tell us what was in their bloodstream? I can't imagine in a few weeks' time we get told, well, the toxicology tests have been done, and there was nothing in the bloodstream of these three. They did indeed die of drowning. I would have thought the toxicology tests would show pretty damn quick that there are no toxins in the bloodstream of these three, and they just drowned. I would have thought if the toxicology tests were negative, we would have known by now. I can only assume, in my naivety, that the toxicology tests are taking so long to produce a result because there are things, plural, in the blood system of these three that would explain a death possibly before drowning. Otherwise, why is it taking so long? Once identification, back to the article, once identification is confirmed, the coroner is required to open an inquest as soon as reasonably practicable. This opening is typically a brief hearing to formally record the facts, including confirmed identity, date, and place of death. Following the opening, the inquest is usually adjourned to allow for further investigation. Yes, it was. It's adjourned till October sometime. I would have thought some results of investigation come out, are released to the public between now and October. But I wouldn't put it past Plod in Sussex to keep all this to himself and just wait till October. I think that is the level of disrespect they hold the public in these days. They just keep the information. Who wants to know about these three Brighton women? Well, it doesn't matter. Let's keep it all to ourselves. An interim death certificate may be issued to families at this stage to enable funeral arrangements to be made. Is that what happened? We had a funeral. Was there an interim death certificate issued? And does the interim death certificate say drowned? Or what does it say? Question mark. Open. Chief Superintendent Adam Hayes said the investigation includes a number of hypotheses and emphasized that it was not appropriate to speculate while evidence was still being gathered. No, Adam Hayes, it is entirely appropriate to speculate. Of course it is. It's human nature. If you can't give us any answers, we are going to speculate to try to make sense of this. Human nature, Adam Hayes, is to speculate because if we don't speculate, we're left thinking, what the hell is going on here? Why aren't you guys telling us what you found out? Speculation is always going to happen, Adam Hayes. Every second you don't give us the basic information to what happened, we're going to speculate as to what might have happened. It's that simple. The coroner's investigation aims to answer 4 key questions. Who the deceased were? Massive question there. Who are these three? I know they've all been identified as Jane, Tina, and Becky, but who were they really? When and where they died? Exactly. Found in the sea on May 13th doesn't mean they died in the sea on May 13th. And how they came by their deaths. Exactly. They're bobbing up and down the sea. One of them got washed ashore. But how did they come by their deaths? We don't know. While the process is thorough and necessary, it can be lengthy. When toxicology is involved, the post-mortem process usually takes between 6 and 12 weeks. Yep, you've already told us that. A full inquest hearing, if required, could be scheduled anywhere from 4 months to a year after their deaths. Well, we've got that. It's October. Last paragraph. During this period, families will be supported by specialist family liaison officers, while the public will be updated only when there is confirmed information to report. Okay. Families will be supported by specialist family liaison officers. Why? Why? Why are the families going to be supported by specialist family liaison? That implies that the families necessarily are going through some horrendous grieving process. What if it turns out, PC Plod in Sussex, that the families are part of some kind of scam? What if they are actually guilty of creating the scenario under which these three died? What kind of support do they need then? Surely they need to be investigated. What I'm saying is, according to the context, according to the circumstances, maybe support of these families shouldn't be the priority. Maybe it's asking them some pretty damn tough questions about what the hell's going on here should be the priority. Maybe the support PC Plod should be given to the public who are a little bit anxious. Maybe there's a serial killer on the loose that's killing people and dumping them in the sea around Brighton. Maybe the support should go the other way to the general public that keeps saying, what the hell's going on here? Because from what I see, the family don't actually need any support. They're on social media, chatting about God knows what. They've raised £45,000 from a GoFundMe. I'm not sure what support they need, Plod. Maybe it's the public that pay your wages that need a bit of support here, not the family. Sorry, last two sentences. Brighton Council leader Bella Sankey said the news was the most heartbreaking the city had encountered in a very long time. Well, again, yeah, it is heartbreaking. We don't know who these three people are, but I'm not sure it's heartbreaking for Joseph. Oh, there's a bit more. Hang on. The formal process that follows such a tragedy prioritizes accuracy and sensitivity over speed, aiming to ensure that the facts are fully established. I would ditch the sensitivity. I would say the formal process that follows such a tragedy prioritizes accuracy and the truth. Because sometimes the truth, doesn't get on well with sensitivity. But truth trumps sensitivity, I would say. Nothing wrong with sensitivity where it's deserved, where it's merited. But I'm not sure the likes of Soji, Jeek, Joseph, Anton, David, Adetoro, I don't think these people, most of them have convictions. Yeah, I don't think sensitivity is their thing somehow. It is designed to provide answers for the families and officially record the circumstances of the deaths. I think you'll find, Plod, that the families have the answers. The family, the editorial family, and the Walters family, I think they have the answers. It's the public again that should be provided with some answers. Last sentence. Until the identification process is complete, the women's names will not be released publicly, in line with legal requirements and out of respect for their families. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that's it for the local newspaper in Sussex, the Argus, that on day 2 gave us all kinds of clues what's going on here. Number 1, yeah, police are determined that you shouldn't be speculating on anything, even though they can't tell us anything. Number 2, on day 2, no evidence at all of criminal activity, but by the same token, no evidence that there's no criminal activity. So make that out as you can, make of that what you can, and yeah, the identification process can be very, very difficult with bodies immersed in water. In other words, the police could be there going, "Who are these?" And Joseph's going, "Oh yeah, 1, 2, and 3." Police say, "Okay, noted," and it's all wrong. Be 3 people from God knows where. Who knows? I will leave it there. Fascinating case. Hoping that Adam Hayes and his crew have something to tell us, or the coroner Schofield has something to tell us soon, because this ain't going to go well with the public if, day after day, week after week, month after month, what is to me an obvious case of fraud, some kind of scam, some kind of cover-up is going on, and the authorities just can't be bothered to tell us. All right, let's see how this one goes. I will say hasta luego, adios, hasta la vista, and see you next time.